Joe Biden is allowing himself to be outflanked on labor by Marco Rubio.
God, of all people.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Guys, fuck Joe Biden. Joe Biden has screwed over tens of thousands of rail workers and told you that he would screw you over if it was too costly for him. Yesterday, he came out with a statement completely, well, I'm saying yesterday because as we're recording this, it is Tuesday evening. So undoubtedly, y'all listening are aware of much more. The situation has progressed much more since Tuesday evening, and that is definitely one of the drawbacks of doing a pre-taped show. But on Monday, he came out with a statement completely selling out rail workers and capitulating to rail capital. In the statement, he calls on Congress to implement the tentative agreement that he quote-unquote helped negotiate between the rail monopolies and the workers. It's the same contract that unions representing the majority of rail workers have voted down. Unions representing the majority of rail workers have voted down the contract, the agreement that Biden is calling on Congress to implement. Biden is calling on Congress to implement a contract over the no votes of thousands of union members. And also he cares a lot about democracy. In the statement, he uses the misleading math to make you think that the agreement proposes a significant raise. He says that it proposes a 24% raise. 24%? Wow, Adam, that sounds great. A 24% raise. Have you ever gotten a 24% raise, Adam?
Nothing even close.
So I wonder about that. Are they really getting a 24% raise? Well, I guess in a sense, because they're getting that 24% raise over 5 years. He doesn't tell you that the 24% raise is coming over the course of 5 years. That amounts to less than a 5% raise per year. And for those of you keeping track at home, a 5% raise is below inflation. That's a pay cut. And Joe Biden, in his statement, is calling a pay cut a historic pay raise. It's like he thinks you're stupid. It's like he thinks the rail workers are stupid. In the statement, he said that the deal was approved by labor and management negotiators. And that's a lie. The deal was not approved by labor negotiators. The deal was sent to the membership for a vote. A tentative agreement is not approval. That's not how union negotiations work. The labor negotiators don't get to approve the deal. The members get to approve the deal. It's not up to the negotiators. It's not up to the people that were sitting across from management. It's up to the workers. That's why it was sent to a vote, and it was the workers who voted it down. In the statement, he says that workers will now have the opportunity to take unscheduled leave for medical needs. But he doesn't tell you that's only if they're in the hospital. And he doesn't tell you that it's unpaid. He also doesn't tell you that some of the sick leave policies, and we learned this from talking to Paul Lindsay last week, a railroad worker, some of the sick leave policies in that agreement are that you get three unpaid sick days, in addition to not being disciplined if you're in the hospital. But those 3 unpaid sick days that you get have to be scheduled 30 days in advance. They also can only happen on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
Well, don't you know, the flu only works 3 days a week.
Right. He is right when he says in his statement that a freight rail strike would impact the economy. But the only way that the strike would happen at all in the first place is if the companies don't give the workers what they're asking for, which is, let's remember, a few days of paid sick leave. That's what the workers are asking for. They're not even upset about the pay cut that Joe Biden and the rail monopolies are trying to push down their throats. I think that's not the main issue. The main issue for them is being able to take some amount of time from work, to be able to not feel like you have to go in if you have the flu. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's bare minimum for a workplace in the year of our Lord 2022. It's amazing. And lest you think that, okay, well, maybe when you just say, oh, they only want a few days of sick leave, maybe that somehow doesn't actually convey the cost of giving all of these workers paid sick leave. Maybe for some reason the cost would be prohibitive to these companies. In 2021, Warren Buffett, who is the owner of BNSF Rail, made more money in one day. Warren Buffett, a single individual person, made more money in one day than it would cost to give all the rail workers an additional 15 days of paid sick leave. Every single one of these 100,000 some odd workers could have an additional 15 days of sick leave. They're only asking for 3 to 7, is my understanding. I'm hearing different numbers, or I'm reading different numbers, but it's always between 3 and 7. The union is only asking for between 3 and 7 days of paid sick leave. And Warren Buffett, with the amount of money that he made from BNSF Rail in one day, could pay for all of these people to have 15 days, double what they were asking for. 15 days of paid sick leave. And also I've heard the union say that it is less than 1% of the profit that they made in 2021. So don't believe anybody that tells you that it would be cost prohibitive to allow these people to take time off when they're sick. Because that would be a lie. In the statement that Joe Biden put out on Monday, he says that he is a pro-labor president. This is also now, we can say, a lie. This is, as far as I'm concerned, a which side are you on moment. And a pro-labor president would not force tens of thousands of workers to continue working without sick leave after 2 years of negotiations, after they've worked 2 years under an expired contract, after they've worked 2 years trying to convince their bosses under the antiquated Railway Labor Act and all of the diffusing mechanisms that it has for diffusing worker discontent. 2 years they've been trying to do this, quote unquote, the right way. 2 years they've been trying to do this, quote unquote, the right way. And the only reason that it's taken 2 years to do this is because these companies knew that this is what was going to happen. You get a Republican in there, you get a Democrat in there, probably we'll just be able to make them accept whatever we want to give them. And we won't have to give them paid sick days. Probably that's what's going to happen, whether there's a Republican or a Democrat. And if Joe Biden has his way, he would be proving them right. A pro-labor president would not force tens of thousands of workers to continue working without sick leave because billionaire robber barons are holding the country's economy hostage. A pro-labor president would either allow the workers to strike and put the full weight of his rhetoric and his bully pulpit behind them, or, and this would be an acceptable outcome as well, because obviously he is right that a rail stoppage would severely hurt the economy. It's amazing the power that workers have. It's almost like workers are the people that make the country run, not people like Warren Buffett. Because when Warren Buffett takes a day off, you don't know it. But if all these workers took a day off, you would know it. It would cost the economy $2 billion a day. $2 billion a day. That's the power that these workers have, and that's the power that Joe Biden is trying to stop them from using. So a pro-labor president would either allow them to strike and support them, or perhaps a pro-labor president would just double the union demands and tell the robber barons that if it ever happens again, that if they don't want this to happen again, if they don't want a pro-labor president to double what the union is asking for, that they should just reach a fair deal sooner. A pro-labor president would nationalize the rails. Because if it is so important to national security, which I think the rails are, if the rails are so important to the national economy, which I think they are, then they are too important to allow billionaire robber barons to control them. It's absurd. It's absurd that we allow Warren Buffett to control so much of the nation's economy. Who the hell is he? It's ridiculous. Hell, a pro-labor president might triple or quadruple what the union is asking for, and these monopolies would still have billions of dollars left over in profit. Just to rub salt in the wound, maybe he would. Maybe they would impose. Maybe he would propose imposing a contract that says not only are we going to quadruple what the union is asking for, we're also going to make you pay. The contract is going to say you got to pay, I don't know, $1 billion to the AFL-CIO. I mean, he could literally do that, because that's the way that the Railway Labor Act is set up. Because unlike in the private sector, in most of the private sector, Congress doesn't just have the authority to impose a contract on you that you have to work under. Your contract is either set by you and your boss individually, in which case you don't actually have a contract and you're just there at the whims of your boss, or it's negotiated collectively between the employer and the union. And the government doesn't really have, they can't impose an actual contract on you. But for the rail workers, Congress does have that power through the Railway Labor Act. And so they could just create whatever contract they wanted. The insanity and political stupidity of this was made apparent immediately after the statement when Marco Rubio said that he would not vote to ratify a deal that the workers wouldn't accept. Joe Biden is allowing himself to be outflanked on labor by Marco Rubio.
God, of all people.
John Hickenlooper has also said that he would not be supporting a deal without sick days.
This is literally a capitalist.
Yeah.
He's one of the most conservative folks in the Democratic Party.
And a literal Republican. I mean, the CPC hasn't even put out a statement yet, and John Hickenlooper is already out saying that he's not going to support it. And of course, you've got people like AOC, Jamal Bowman, Bernie Sanders. Of course, they're bright spots, and they're fighting for the workers to have sick leave. But the progressive Democrats as a whole, as you know, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, they're not out here condemning Biden's move. Why is that? As of Tuesday, the AFL-CIO hasn't put out a statement on it. The Trades Transportation Department of the AFL-CIO hasn't put out a statement on it yet. Marco Rubio has, though. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There's no reason for this. There's absolutely no reason for this. The money is there. It's not going to cost you. What could he possibly be worried about? What could possibly be the reasoning for imposing this contract on these people? The money is there on the part of the rail companies. Who are the people politically that are going to be upset about him giving workers a good deal? But there are millions of people in labor unions that are going to be pissed off when this goes through. I don't understand it.
Well, I mean, I think the only explanation is class allegiance. That Biden and his administration, their loyalty to capital, their loyalty to the bosses, to the Warren Buffetts of the world, is more important than winning elections. I mean, that's the only conclusion that you can draw, that supporting these rail barons, these modern day robber barons, supporting them is more important than supporting the millions of union workers across this country who helped get Joe Biden elected, who helped elect Democrats to hold the House and the Senate for these past 2 years, and to control the Senate moving forward. Wouldn't have happened without labor.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened without Unite, without labor, without Unite Here. I mean, there's absolutely no chance that it would have happened without labor.
I mean, so here we see, I think you nailed it. It's a whose side are you on moment. He's made it very clear whose side he's on. Marty Walsh has made it very clear whose side he's on. An increasing amount of Democrats have made it clear whose side they're on. And to make it worse, in his statement, President Biden made it clear he doesn't want Congress to change the agreement.
Yes.
Right? Because you have Senator Bernie Sanders and a handful of others who have indicated they want to improve the agreement and to make the agreement better for the workers, to actually include some sick leave. And that is something Joe Biden is opposed to.
And not only...
It's possible. It is 100% possible. It could happen tomorrow.
And it really does seem like, I mean, today, we have been, like, every hour there's been a new group of people coming out saying that I'm not going to support a deal without sick leave. I'm not going to support a deal without sick leave. And so the way that it's, like, dripping out, I would honestly almost be surprised if there is not some improvement on that front And so then the question is, how did Biden not know this would happen? How did Biden not know that he didn't have the support in Congress to screw over the rail workers? And so he's going to look even worse than if the whole Congress had been behind him, because it's obvious the whole Congress is not behind him right now. I don't know. It doesn't. But all, you said in his statement he advocated that the deal not be changed. And not only did he just say the deal shouldn't be changed, but he specifically argued against changing it. Like he said, I know some, however well-intentioned, was the words that he used, people maybe want to improve it, but that would risk delaying and whatever, and we shouldn't do that, and we need to make this happen right now. Why? Why would it take long? Just wherever the article about sick leave is, you just change the number from 0 to 7. Like, what do you mean? How would it delay it?
Right. There's no delay when you are literally in the position to impose something. It takes you as long as it takes to, change that language and to impose it.
Yeah. I mean, if he's worried about it, just send the PDF to me and I'll do it. I'll get it done for you the same day. Like, you send me the document tomorrow and I'll have it back with the right amount of sick days in an hour. It's ridiculous.
It just, the thing that really pisses me off beyond seeing these workers thrown under the train, seeing these workers struggling for years for things that, it's absurd we're even having to fight for it. There is no such thing as a good deal that doesn't even have paid sick leave in the year 2022.
Yeah.
That's absurd. That is totally absurd. And beyond that, just the very nature of it, something else that does piss me off is I think to all the folks who told me that Joe Biden would be the most pro-labor, pro-union president of our lifetimes. And they've continued saying that even since he's been elected. While we've seen little to show for it, that line has been repeated over and over and over again. I even know people who are legitimately good union brothers and sisters who are effective advocates in the workplace who told me that. Mm-hmm. And now I knew better. I think anyone who paid close attention to Joe Biden's record over the past several decades, because it has been, about half a century he's been in office. It's
well,
not
and actually,
a surprise.
Well, you mentioned that. You mentioned that his half a century in office. More Perfect Union came out a couple of hours ago with, let me see if I can find this tweet really quick, this thread. They came out with a report that back in 1992, Senator Joe Biden voted against ending a major rail strike. He argued that here's quoting from More Perfect Union, he argued that by intervening, Congress would be rewarding the railroad companies for years of bad faith negotiation. As a senator, Biden criticized intervention from Congress and the White House, saying that it assured the rail companies that the odds were stacked in their favor and confirmed the fears of rail workers. Senator Biden also criticized the Presidential Emergency Board, whose job is to mediate a deal between the rail unions and carriers by providing contract recommendations. Quote, "It is a reasonable system in theory that has turned insidious in practice."
Everything the man said 30 years ago could easily apply to himself now. And I don't know if you caught this, but in Nancy Pelosi's statement, she actually explicitly named Wall Street. She said the rail industries have been squeezing the workers on the behalf of Wall Street just to make more money, just greed. She put that out there in her statement, followed by, but we're still going to go ahead and do this.
Right.
We acknowledge you're being screwed. We acknowledge it's all one big scam.
Yeah.
But
damn, it sucks, doesn't it, guys? Like,
oops, we're just gonna have to do it to you.
Yeah, it's like that meme where this guy's in like a hot dog suit and is like, we're trying really hard to figure out who did this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a false dichotomy. I mean, because what they're portraying is either they impose this contract, which sucks, which the workers don't want, which is, absurd. They impose this crappy contract, or there's a strike and the whole economy is going to shut down and everyone's going to suffer and little Johnny's not going to get their Christmas present on time.
Yeah.
It's a false choice.
Yeah. You could also just
give the workers what they demand.
Yeah.
They're not asking for much. They're asking for reasonable, humane scheduling and some paid time off. They're being squeezed and squeezed. Their health and safety has been put at risk for years. These billionaire capitalists like Warren Buffett are leveraging the country's supply chain just to squeeze more out of these workers.
Yeah.
These are oligarchs. These are robber barons. And it's very clear what side Joe Biden and Marty Walsh are lining up on. Again, it's not terribly surprising given their record. Even in this current administration, we've seen silence from them on the Warrior Met strike in Brookwood, Alabama.
Yeah.
Not even a bother to mention it, to tweet about it, to show up in Alabama. We've seen Starbucks and Amazon and other companies, Chipotle, that are rampantly breaking labor law on purpose, intentionally, daring the authorities to stop them. And we've got Joseph Webb on the show today from the NLRB union to talk about how the NLRB has been totally gutted over the years, could easily be fixed, could have been fixed already under the Biden administration, still yet to happen. And this is supposed to be the most pro-labor president of our lifetimes. And the sad thing is, compared to Obama and Trump and the Bushes and Clinton,
that's how, it's possible, even as this is happening. I mean, maybe it's possible. I guess.
He hasn't signed another NAFTA yet.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Maybe, but wow, that bar sucks ass.
It's pretty low.
That is a pretty low bar. And you're definitely not the most pro-labor president in history because we still got FDR.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to be,
100%.
And that is something.
It doesn't come close.
Yeah. Most pro-labor in my lifetime, maybe, but still, screw you. But he has said.
That'd be like being the least imperialist president of our lifetime. Right. Oh, they only bombed 4 countries instead of 13.
But he has said stuff about, I'm going to be the most pro-union president in history. You do this, you can't be.
Right.
You can't be.
Yeah, there's an issue of basic morality, and there's an issue of politics. There's just like I said, I can only draw the conclusion that loyalty to these elites, loyalty to these railroad barons is more important. Not just in, delivering for constituents, but for even having the chance to win an election. Mm-hmm. You would rather lose and stay loyal and show your class allegiance than dare help working people, even if it were to help you win and stay in office.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why people don't want to vote.
Yeah.
Or we wonder why Democrats have struggled retaining working class voters. Well, maybe this is it. And the last thing I'll say on it is a friend of the show, our brother Chris Townsend, put out a hell of an article called Lions Led by Asses. And I really highly recommend that. You can find it online. Just check out Lions Led by Asses by Chris Townsend. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's very good. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.